everyone, welcome to my Earth Seer YouTube channel. As promised, I'm here to demystify the spiritual arts. In today's video, I'm going to talk about cosmic time and share a true life story as a psychic child, how my higher guardians allowed me to discover that time as we know it is an illusion. Once upon a time, there was a human civilization that lived on a planet named Earth, affectionately known as Gaia. That's how fairy tales start. But what if I told you life as we know it is similar to living in a fairy tale? Let's call it a fairy tale simulation. I'm going to reveal how life as we know it is not what it seems, that time as we know it does not spiritually exist, and provide proof. On top of that, I'll share a true life story about one of my out-of-body experiences as a child. In my case, it happened as a child when I was lifting from my body to meet up with higher spiritual intelligence. In my last video, the day I became an Earth Seer, I touched on how I've always been having out-of-body experiences. But these out-of-body experiences also came with their own spiritual lessons. I would not only lift out of my body to have lessons with star beings, I would return to my physical body vessel to go about my childhood life. But one night after lifting out of my body to have a close encounter, the next day when I looked up at a clock, I could not compute time. I had lost the ability to recognize time. This went on for months and years. I can remember when I was asked a question about time, I had to find an excuse to get the answer. At that stage in my childhood, because of unwanted attention, I instinctively knew it was important not to reveal I had heightened senses. I'd learned from my higher guardians that I needed to live in both our world and the higher worlds simultaneously. I was unaware that Albert Einstein had attempted to explain this time vacuum, E equals mc squared, the time-space theory of relativity. My childhood lesson about time, how the past, present, and future was an energetic simulation, was not welcome. I was already aware of the importance of keeping a low profile. This was an added weight that required me having to put all effort into blending in as a child, but also having to relearn to ensure that I could successfully complete my education on Earth. I knew that there were other spiritual worlds because I was meeting up with heightened spiritual beings as a child. Therefore, I knew that time as we know it was not real. But as with everything in the spiritual, you were required to consign that knowledge to a secret place until you were guided to share it with a larger audience. Often when it comes to getting real about spiritual topics, we can find ourselves navigating our way through opinion pieces by well-intentioned faith seekers, or the opposite, those who view life from their personal life experiences and perspective only. Depending on the way the wind blows, or now how search engine algorithms are programmed to determine what can be found, we are led into a labyrinth of online topics that decide what to believe and not to believe. It becomes overcomplicated. We have to weigh up academic hypotheses against mythical stories handed down from generation to generation by First Nations people. There is also the plethora of internet influencers who have rushed to teach personal development courses. They coach you on spiritual topics using training they read in books or life coaching institutes and the psychological sciences. Some will use their looks or charisma to get you to attend their courses. Some will lure you into cults where you'll be enticed by the altered teachings of the law of attraction that concentrate on prosperity, being successful in material terms, and promising to make you rich at the expense of others and our environment. Whilst they ignore natural laws that keep life in balance by harmonizing with everything around you and maximizing the experience you are meant to have on this planet. If you look for proof of their knowledge of the spiritual topic they are openly discussing, can you find it? What is the source of their teaching? And how can you trust it? It becomes a very delicate balance of determining whether academic intelligence measures up to biblical, spiritual, and faith knowledge, or whether marrying up the two of them can result in a greater peace of mind. Is it any wonder we have entered into polarized, often paralyzing tribal wars? We are dealing with ingrained beliefs that are embedded in what people want to believe and feel comfortable believing. There is a tug of expert opinions going back and forth that exhausts the psyche. But this tug of opinions between blind acceptance of ideology and personal life experience also leads to separation of knowledge. Skepticism insists on knowledge based on fact. Religion insists its knowledge of creation is accurate, with religions infighting over which interpretation of spiritual verse, parable, is the absolute truth. What is lost in these spiritual and atheist wars is their knowledge can only be based on what they know, not what they do not know. Spiritual consciousness allows us all to find our own way. The learning is all about evolving as spiritual beings. That means universal consciousness has to reveal itself in new ways. The higher realms is aware we are stuck in this separation vacuum. It is why we have ignored earth changes and been drawn into the debating intelligence game. You are not aware of the cataclysmic dangers because you have been forced into debating the split between sciences, the religion, protecting the economics, the politics and its leaders, the ideology. Then does consciousness reveal itself and remove us out of the fairy tale simulation we are now living in? By showing us that time as we know it does not exist. The universal higher worlds have to reveal life as we know it is an illusion. This leads me into why the higher realms uses seers for prophecy to prove time doesn't exist. You will find universal consciousness has used seers to provide evidence of prophecy throughout human existence. The higher realms is all-knowing, omnipresent, everywhere. I was spiritually requested to release psychic predictions and spiritual prophecy to forewarn of future dangers if we ignored the natural laws and signs of nature and the deceptive undercurrent responsible for allowing our world to be lost in the spiritual deceivers' chess games. What was I spiritually asked to do when I was shown major life events and cataclysmic earth changes before they happened? To back it up with evidence of it coming true. I recommend you watch my previous video about the day I became an Earth Seer to view how detailed the spiritual instructions I received actually were. I can't speak on behalf of historical seers or prophets and what type of higher intelligence engagement they had in the past, but only from my own personal experience. The higher realms was aware that blind faith in the spiritual arts would not cut it, which is why my spiritual prophecy didn't go into vague ramblings or attempt to sway you into trusting something without proof. My higher spiritual guardians were aware that psychic predictions and prophecy had to be detailed and years ahead of the date the event would happen. My spiritual guardians knew how the traditional spiritual arts had been undervalued by entertainment escapism predictions, and that some well-known psychic and astrological influencers were abusing the trust of their audience by trying it on. Spiritual prophecy was being politically weaponized for people of faith to vote a certain way. In other cases, some spurious psychics or astrologers were searching through existing online prophecy and then taking false credit for what they found there. The media used clickbait to hook unsuspecting readers onto the latest dead prophets' yearly forecasts. They would publicize the latest celebrity or entertainment influencer who would then falsely declare they predicted major world events like the pandemic or banking crashes. In doing this, they would hide the secret advertorial marketing deals used to build up their online reputations. It was making a mockery of the traditional spiritual arts and what they stand for. If prophecy was to be taken seriously, it would need to be verified, untouched, and not placed into the same category of celebrity psychic and entertainment astrology predictions. The spiritual prophecy would need to resonate with your everyday life concerns. The higher realms uses seers like myself to demonstrate the traditional spiritual arts. We have to be prepared to stand in authentic energy, be dedicated to our craft, and follow the spiritual channeling instructions, and to publish our transcripts where we honor our spiritual vocation. Seers are fully knowing that the abuse of the spiritual arts creates karmic recompense for any spiritual being that does not honor the universal laws. We are required to put ourselves forward and speak up. But how does the higher realms know what is going on in our world, and why are they trying to protect spiritual beings from the spiritual deceivers and stop our earth going through major earth changes? I'm covering that topic next. I recommend you subscribe and place an alert for this video. It is going to challenge everything you think you know about life on Earth.